Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on the Ben Murphy Show. Today we have Nate Angles, who is a great friend of mine, and we're going to talk about his background, his time in the military, and real estate investing. Tune in for the show. Hey Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I do want to start this show by saying happy birthday. Today is Nate's 32nd birthday.
It's not going to air on the birthday, but
right,
I appreciate that.
Today, April 5th, as we shoot, it is Nate's birthday.
Yep.
So, super excited to have you.
I did my backflip burpees this morning. Did you see it?
How many was it?
I just did 2, but I'm just doing an annual backflip burpee.
I can't believe you can do that still, to be honest.
Yeah. We'll see how long I can do it till.
Yeah. I think you probably got, I don't know, another 10, 15 years of that, you think?
I got to do it by 50, Ashley, he said. So.
That's a pretty good goal. So, anyways, we have Nate is actually a surprise guest today. We originally had another guest scheduled, and they got sick, and best friend Nate Angles comes to the rescue and comes on. So, we were originally going to have him on 2 weeks from now, but really excited to have you here. So, Nate, I want to have the audience learn a little bit more about you. Okay. And obviously we know each other super well. We grew up together, and we see each other basically every single day, except Sundays. Because,
we have lunch almost every day.
Yeah, every day. So tell us a little bit about you, and we can talk about our background as well.
So how far should I start?
Let's say from the day you were born. No, I'm kidding. We could start with where we met. Okay. So we met in church, but we actually didn't. We got close probably when I was, 17, 18, and then
yeah. So yeah, basically, that's usually where I start my story, I guess, is like after high school or after in college. Didn't really know what I was gonna do. Went to school to basically play football, and then I went to business school at Whitewater. So I was like, after high school, I didn't care about anything else except playing football, right? So I only chose the school based off of that.
Right.
And then it turns out, when you go from starting both ways in football and then sitting on the bench because you're a freshman not playing, I didn't really like that. And then I didn't really see the benefit in being at a D3 school with all the work that needed to be done. Plus, I was getting into partying and stuff I just didn't really want to do. Yeah. So then left that, went to a Christian school, Liberty University, for a semester, and then I realized how expensive that was.
That was only a semester?
1 semester.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I literally moved to Virginia for 1 semester, and then came back and was like, I'm gonna go broke. I spent all the money I had in that 1 semester, which is like $10,000. So then I got a job at U.S. Cellular, which actually we were connected then too.
We were.
Got a job there. Started going to school locally at WCTC, just to get my gen eds, and they were paying for it. So. And then when we kind of started hanging out more, I was still working there, right? And then you worked at a sales store, right?
I did.
Yeah. I remember that.
I worked there for a year.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly when that was.
I don't either. Yeah. But that was funny because you worked there and I was the customer service in the call center. And then from there, graduated in a marketing degree. Still didn't know what I wanted to do. So some guy that I worked there with quit, and then I was like, hey, where'd you go? Because I was friends with him. And he said, I went to this local marketing company and I'm doing sales for them. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. What is that like? And then he's like, yeah, you should do it. And I was like, cool. I had no idea.
I remember this.
Never been in sales.
Yeah.
Always thought I could be good at sales, right? My dad always thought I'd be good at sales because I could talk and, I like to talk to people and whatnot, but had no training, didn't do any self-education, didn't even know about that back then. Now, as you know, we're both big on that. But basically started that, did it for 6 months, had no training and just failed miserably, made no money.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Been there.
And then Then I go to the roofing company. Do you remember that?
I do. That was you were doing hail insurance claims, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was just like, what do they call those? The storm chasers. Yeah, yeah. So, and I met that guy working at this same business, and so he was like, "Hey, you should come work for me. I make all this money, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Cool, that sounds good. I'm not making anything here."
Yeah, you might as well go make some money somewhere.
Yep. So I bought like a $1,500 Expedition. So that way I could have a big enough truck to hold my ladder, right? And then I was just driving around like Lake Country and all these really expensive neighborhoods that hailstorms were at to try to hopefully knock on their door and have them let me get on their roof, and then just like find little marks that I could put chalk on and be like, take pictures of and be like, hey, look, you need a new roof. We can help you. Yeah, it was crazy. So I did that for like 6 months or something, and I sold one roof the whole time.
Any base pay or anything? Nothing. Oh man. This guy's gonna go broke,
dude. That's the year we got married too.
Yeah.
So I had a broken leg. Remember that?
From football,
because I was playing in some little like
semi-pro.
Yeah. And broke my leg. Couldn't walk. Couldn't get on the roofs. That was another reason I couldn't do anything. And the one sale that I had, guess who it was?
Oh, I remember this. It was your grandparents.
It was.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. It was literally my grandparents' house.
So what do you, I mean, this was a long time ago now, but do you remember like why you couldn't get more sales? Or,
dude,
or was it like you just didn't have skills?
No skills.
Yeah, or were people just not interested at all? Or
dude, I wish I remembered more. Honestly, I think I was also like, I don't think I really knocked on that many doors. Like, I think I was scared because I didn't know what to say. I felt dumb. Like, I remember just driving around and, like, I'm knocking on a couple of doors and be like, all right, this neighborhood's not good. I'm going to try a different one. And then, like, knocking on a couple of doors, like, all right, I'm going to try a different one, right? And if I were to start now, dude, I would be so much better.
Yeah.
Now knowing what I know.
Right.
Just about sales in general and, like, having some confidence to talk to people. And it would actually be an easy sale because it's like...
I would... If somebody came to me and was like, yeah, free roof.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need one now.
Right.
But, like, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
I know people that have done it, like Zach and Derek. They both got new roofs and I think new siding.
Yeah.
From the
Speaking
insurance.
of which, I'm pretty sure insurance companies are, like, really starting to crack down on it.
Yeah, they're cracking down on it now. Yeah, well, nowadays, I think they're not even... if you have a roof, they don't do a full claim if it's like over a certain number of years old. Before, it could be a 30-year-old roof.
Wow.
And they would pay for a brand new one.
Which
is literally what happened to my grandparents.
Yeah, that's...
They needed a new roof, and then they got the whole thing paid for.
That's a blessing.
And then what was funny is that I literally quit that job, and then I went to my uncle.
Yeah.
And we actually did the roof.
Really?
So the company that I sold it for never even got the commission for it. Never even got the job.
Oh my gosh. So you technically never sold it with the company.
Nope. Never.
But you got paid for doing the roof?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what happened next?
It just went like all over. All right. So then after that, I was so lost, dude. I was like, newly married, making no money, feeling like a failure.
And was Ashley working at the time?
She was a server. Or she might have been a manager back then at Chili's.
Okay.
Yeah, which is how we met, through my brother working there. But so then I was like looking into different careers, and I was working with my uncle doing construction because after that job, I was like, hey, why don't I just work with you? Like, this is working out. You're paying me more than I was making before.
Yeah, which is
$20 an hour.
Right.
No, it might have been $15 an hour.
All right.
15 to 20, somewhere in there.
Back then, that wasn't terrible.
Yeah, it was like 27, 15-ish, something like that. So then I worked with him for a while, and I remember we were building this house, and it was a massive house. It was like 7,000 square foot. It had a like a gym, indoor gym, right?
Nice.
And this dude bought this land, tore down the old house in Brookfield, 3 acres in Brookfield, tore down the old house to build this big house. And then I was like, what does this guy do? Like, how does he afford this? And he's like, he's a real estate investor.
Really?
Yeah. And that was what, like, sparked real estate.
Ding.
Yeah. Literally, I was like, okay. What else does he do? He's like, he's a firefighter. I'm like, oh. So he's like, yeah, he's literally a firefighter, which you work 1 day on, 2 days off or something like that. And then you, and then he buys and builds and flips houses and whatnot, has rentals and all that stuff. And I was like, that seems like a good path for me. I have nothing else that I want to do. So I literally was like, okay, how do I become a firefighter? Right? Start doing research on that and find out like there's like a point system with it or something. So like if you're, in the military, you get points. If you're a female, you get points. If you're, a different or like a minority, you get points to be able to rank up because it was really competitive to get in back then.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. I need to go get some points, right? And then, so then I started looking into the military, right? I was like, all right, cool. I'll I'll go to the military. I'll get some points, and then I'll go be a firefighter, right? And then my backup plan was if I can't get into that, then I'll be a nurse. Yeah, which I don't know.
I think I remember that.
I don't know how I became. That was a backup plan. I don't know why. I just heard like male nurses were needed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I could do that.
Yeah, and a nurse makes decent money, so you're probably thinking like,
yeah, it could be.
Why not?
Could be good, right? So then joined the military in 2016, which is right around the time you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, we both were. It was October 2015, I think. Around that
Oh,
time.
yeah, you're right. It was 15. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we both shipped out
in 16.
in 2016.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. You're right. So yeah, joined the military and the Air Force, and with the plan of going to training, coming back, and then trying to get into fire school or nursing school.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? So, from what I recall, you never became a firefighter.
From what I recall,
right? So what happened there that you didn't?
So I came back and I was looking. Well, number one, Milwaukee was not hiring. Madison was hiring, but they weren't hiring. I just missed it basically because I was in training at the time, and those are like the two big ones that I thought made the most sense. And then I started looking into the smaller ones like West Dallas, Brookfield. All those ones are really hard to get into though. Like you had to have experience, you had to have all this stuff, right? And so basically I found out like, I was just impatient and I was like, well, what should I do in the meantime? So I was still waiting, and this was 2016 still, right? And so then I just started doing the guard full time, right? From like 16, 17, I think 16 and 17. Yeah.
And that's when you were full-time with your
full-time guard. Yeah. So I was just like traveling with the planes. I was mechanic on the plane. So we would travel to different places. We would do the maintenance on it and then travel to the next one. And I was probably gone like 2 weeks out of the month every month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd you all go?
Like the ones I can remember, like, they were mainly in country, but like some of the big ones were like we went to Japan, or we went to Washington State, then California, then Hawaii, then Guam, then Japan, then Guam, then Hawaii, then back. That was a cool trip.
All in how long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was
a lot of travel.
That's a lot of being in the air.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. And then another one we went to like just off of the coast of Europe. That was another cool trip that I did. And then a lot of those other ones were just like Florida, South Carolina, Washington, New York or Maine, I think. Just a bunch of like in country ones.
Yeah, for sure. So you're in the guard full time. Then eventually you're not in the guard anymore. What happened next?
Well, actually before that still, I was in the guard. And then I think it was like a year or two in and I got deployed. Right. And then while I'm deployed, I'm listening to Bigger Pockets every day, right? Because I started getting obsessed with real estate investing because of this, guy who built this big house who was also a firefighter,
right? And
got me into. So it's like just this big long like journey of how I'm here. And on this deployment, I remember one day I was literally doing my laundry, and I hear and it's a podcast with Grant Cardone.
Oh, nice.
On Bigger Pockets. Yep. First time I ever heard of Grant Cardone.
Was it with Brandon Turner?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so this was 2017, right? End of 2017. And so basically hear him and like hear his story, and I'm like, dude, that's what I want, right? big real estate investor making tons of money, right? Has all these units. And how did he get there? Sales, right? So then I was convinced it's not firefighting anymore because like they're not even hiring anyways. And like I talked to people that were in it, and they're like, yeah, they hire like every 2 to 3 to 4 years. So I'm like, all right, fine. Well, I'm gonna do sales then when I get back. Right. And so then I just start like becoming obsessed about sales and like what can I learn about it? What company should I join? All this stuff. So this is end of 2017, or no, I think so. Yeah, 2017. And then I come back and I'm like, all right, I'm going to join ADP, right? Because I did all this research and I was like, they're a great sales company, good training, all this stuff, right? While I'm gone too, I say, I think I'm going to get my real estate license. Because the same year as when I bought my first house, which is a duplex, and I house hacked, right?
Yep.
And then I was like, my plan was, all right, you know, as I'm learning, like it seems like if I get my real estate license, that'll help me be a better investor. That was the reason I did it.
Yeah.
And that was 2017 still. And then come back beginning of 2018. I got my real estate license in like October of 17. Didn't do anything with it though. Joined ADP in beginning of 18, I think. Yeah, beginning of 18. And did that for a while and actually did pretty good at it. Like it was cool, but you know, corporate sales is really different than like what I was learning about.
Yeah.
Right? Just a lot more, you know, like we were like
it was like payroll.
Yeah, it was payroll sales. But like we would like they didn't care about your activity. Like they didn't really train about real things in real sales like that we know now. They were just like, this is how you sell, like you need to present. It was like the old school way of like, you know, you don't fact find at all. You just go and you present and like you have to have this really good presentation and like all this stuff. And you just cold call and like, you know, try to find business owners or door knock. But it wasn't like, I don't know, I didn't have like a great blueprint. Like I just had a little success, but not a ton. And then, but what I did do is I found someone who wanted to buy a house, one of my buddies.
Oh.
Right? And then I was like, oh, well, I have my real estate license, but I'm not with a broker yet because I didn't want to pay for it. So I was like, all right, well, when you're ready, you know, I can help you, you know? And so, you know, that's a whole different story. But basically, as soon as he was ready, I got my real estate. I hung my license with a broker and we started shopping. We probably looked at like 50 different places.
Oh, my gosh.
Got one under contract.
That's like a nightmare client.
But I had no idea.
Yeah.
Got it under contract. So excited, right? And then
how long did it take you though?
Dude,
like 50 places, like
it was like 3 months.
That in 3 months. So in 90 days, you guys saw 50 different places.
Dude, we were looking like multiple places a week. Yeah.
Oh my
gosh. A lot.
And
but
each
dude, this
time
is a different market
I don't
too.
want to write. I don't want to write. I don't want to write.
This is a really different market.
I mean, yeah, I know for sure. Back then, there was actually inventory.
There was so much, dude. Some days we would see like 10 places
in a day. That's exhausting.
Yeah, on my weekends.
Yeah,
you know, because I had a full-time job.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and so then we.
And did you have any kids at the time? Like
we had one.
So you had Raylan then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, she was born in June that year. Yep. So we got it under contract. Go to the inspection, and he gets cold feet and backs out.
Gosh.
And then he decides, I'm moving to Washington. I'm not buying a house anymore.
So there went at minimum like 50, 60 hours with
it was crazy. Yeah. And then now I had my real estate license, which, you know, it cost you $1,000 for that year plus another $900 for my brokerage. So I was in like almost $2,000 now.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's a lot to me when I'm making 50.
Oh, when you're exactly, because
you know, with one kid and my wife,
right?
Well, she was doing daycare work, but I mean, she was really just paying for the daycare.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was a lot back then. And so then we actually kind of got lucky. A girl that Ashley worked with, but in the past, referred her dad who was selling his house. So my first sale was a listing, which
that's
I had
uncommon.
No idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I priced it or anything. Yeah. No idea.
So did you sell that one?
I did. Yeah. That one sold to Jeff Johns.
Really?
Shout out Jeff Johns.
Oh, that's
he was
awesome.
my first deal. Yeah. Now
nice.
He was
the
awesome
agent?
He was the buyer's agent. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of your real estate experience.
That was the beginning.
Man, I can't believe you kept going at that point. If I would have had, like, not me, but like your average agent, if they would have just not had any idea what they were doing, done 50 plus showings with somebody, yeah. They back out of an inspection, most people would be like, man, screw this.
You know what's funny, actually? I was when I was at ADP, so I was still at ADP, mm-hmm. One of the guys that I worked with a lot, he was an insurance agent, because we would do a lot of work with insurance agents because they would refer us small business owners that would need mm-hmm. payroll services. Mm-hmm. And he was an insurance agent, but also a lender, right? Or he tried doing both. And then when I told him, like, I am also a real estate agent, he's like, dude, you need to quit that. Like, he said, I've been I did lending for a little while, and he's like, it is awful. Like, you'll do all this work and then deals just die on you. And I'm like, that's true. It just happened to me.
Yeah. So you got a guy talking you out of it.
I had a guy talking me out of it. For whatever reason, I didn't stop. But yeah, I ended up selling 3 houses that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was before you joined any like
team.
I
was just by myself at a small little brokerage that it's a great little brokerage for investors, and that's how I met them. Mm-hmm. But they didn't really have support. Like, their goal wasn't to help agents be full-time agents. It was, just investors who wanted a place to hang their license.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not pay all the fees.
Exactly.
And have a huge cap.
So I didn't have any training, really, not really any support, which is totally expected in that case.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You get what you pay for there.
End of that year, though, my grandpa introduces me to Dan. Mm-hmm. And then at that time, I was like, I would love to go full-time. Like, I even told one of my clients that I was like, my goal is to be a full-time real estate agent at the time.
Yeah.
Right? And then grandpa heard that, and he talked to a guy who was a full-time agent who had a team, introduced me, and then that next year, early 2019 is when I joined that team. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't let me do it part-time.
So he said either quit your job.
Yep.
Or just keep doing
January 2019, we had Jax, our second kid, mm-hmm. right? Ashley then quit her job. Mm-hmm. So she's home with 2 kids now. And then I go to her and say, hey, babe. I think I want to quit. I think I want to quit and be a full-time agent.
Yeah.
And there's no salary. Mm-hmm. And you only get paid when you sell houses. And she's like, you sold 3 houses though. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but I'm gonna do a lot more when I'm full-time. Right. But no, for real though, she's been like so supportive.
I was just gonna say, like, I know the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hearing it again, I'm like, and this is just part of the journey of getting to where you want to be. Mm-hmm. But it was like, try this, try this, try this, try this, mm-hmm. try this. And now we're here. Yeah. But like, she was there for that whole ride.
All of it, yeah.
And just had faith and trust in you that it was going to be all right. And I mean, looks like you guys are doing all right now. So that's all I'm saying though is like, shout out to Ashley, because
for sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it without her. That's for sure. And yeah, I mean, if you look back at like when we got married, and I literally didn't make money for a whole year, mm-hmm. Like I was doing the sales job that made no money. And then I went and did roofing that made no money. And then I had a broken leg, and I had this, crappy car. Mm-hmm. And like, she's like, yeah, I want to marry you.
Right. Which is just like, Yeah. And I mean, we, Tiff and I have somewhat of a similar story. Not the same, but like, we went our whole pretty much first year of marriage with me making like literally not enough money to live off.
That was a business we were in together.
Yeah. I think that year that we first got married, I made like $10,000. Yeah. At most. Yeah. And it was because I closed 2 real estate deals at the end of that year. So our wives.
Was that 2020?
That was 2020.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah. So we can get into that. Been through a lot. Well, before we get to that, let's talk about then you joining real estate.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Which is funny because we were close, mm-hmm. but like this is what ended up getting us to be like best friends.
Yeah,
close,
exactly. Because I mean, we had that time when I was in college where I lived a little. I pretty much lived with you in your
in my one bedroom
apartment.
Yeah, we wanted to get bunk beds.
We did. But, Ashley wouldn't let it. No. Which was probably for the best. But
fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, 2019, you become a real estate agent, right? Full time, that is.
Full time, yeah.
On Dan's team, at EXP Realty.
And started doing well. He had amazing training.
I agree.
He gave us, opportunities, with leads and different referrals and whatnot. And, I think in the first, 3 months is probably because you were deployed at the time.
Yep.
And you were gone for like a long time, like 11 months or 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was like 12 months. Overseas, I think, was like
But we were talking like every day.
Yeah, every single day.
Every day.
FaceTimed.
And I was just telling you, like, every day, I'm like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and you were graduated with a degree in finance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you weren't really sure what you were going to do.
Yeah, I didn't have a plan when I was coming home because I was at that internship with Northwestern Mutual doing like some accounting, risk analysis, auditing work. And I'll be honest, that I was miserable. It just wasn't for me.
Sitting on a desk just like looking at numbers all day or something.
And that's just, it doesn't fit my personality. Like I love to talk to people and be with them and help them. And obviously sales is like, that's where we're at now. But I remember when I was overseas, I would be listening to podcasts, and I'm pretty sure it was Bigger Pockets.
Probably, yeah.
Every single day, and I listened to so many real estate investing audiobooks.
Yep.
I think you even sent me a book, I think.
Yeah. And then you got the what's that one guy's name? Meet Kevin. Real estate course.
And I remember he's got like an insane amount of followers right now.
Yeah.
I found him early.
Really early.
And I always have to tell
people
you
actually introduced me about it.
Yeah.
I remember
and I bought some of his courses when I was overseas because I was...
And then you shared them with me?
Yeah, exactly. And I gave you my login and everything. And we've done that so many times throughout the years with sharing logins for different courses. But that's something that I feel like that's helped us get ahead.
Totally. Yeah.
We've always been like, how do we learn as much as we can, as fast as we can from people who are already successful, doing exactly what we want to do? Because at the time, Meet Kevin was just like, he was a real estate agent, real estate investor, but his main like teachings were all about real estate, being a real estate agent. So earlier in the deployment, I was researching like real estate investing. And then when you're like, let's become agents, I was like, all right, let's do it.
All right, flip.
And I bought the course for...
being an agent, right?
Like the Wisconsin licensing course.
Oh, yeah. And you started studying for that overseas.
I did.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have time for it at the end of the deployment, but as soon as I got home, finished it, 2 weeks later, I was licensed.
Yep. So that's crazy. Fun. Yeah. And then we were both killing it side by side. Like you started selling fast.
Yeah.
Like,
I think under 2 months I had my first sale.
Yeah, which is crazy. A lot of people take like 6 to 9 to 12 months before they get a first deal. And so you started having really early success, and then it was really fun. Like we would see each other every day, do all that, and then
that's also the importance. And sorry to cut you off. That's also the importance of like starting on a team as a real estate agent. Like a lot of new agents, and even like agents like us too, before you get into really doing this on your own and running the business and how costly it actually is to run the business.
Yeah, you don't realize.
You're like, oh, I don't want to split commissions with my team. Yeah. But like, okay, that's kind of like the way that I looked at it when we are on the team was kind of like my tuition.
Yeah.
Because going from being a college student like 2 years prior, deployment, and then being a real estate agent, like I had no clue what I was doing. And you have the team, you have the mentorship, you have people around you. We had each other to like just bounce off of each other and learn as fast as we possibly could.
Yeah, I loved that office environment. Like the team was fun. That was a lot of fun. And then but yeah, I mean, just going off of that real quick, I think my mind has changed on that a little bit. Like, there's some days now where, we've even talked about, like, we wish we were on teams. Yeah. It would be a little easier, You don't have all the stress of everything.
Right, you don't have to wear every hat.
Yeah.
And you obviously have an assistant and, like, some agents on your team now and everything, but, like, you still wear so many hats running the operation. Where, like, sometimes it would be easier to just
go
sell houses.
That's it, yeah. But I mean, that's a whole different story. But yeah, so when you joined, that was fun, and then I deployed, and then sent you all that stuff, and then that once again changed the whole trajectory of everything. Deployments, just seem to change everything.
They really do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and you can relate to this too. When you're over there in the Middle East, and you don't have anyone else around you, except obviously you have like your everyone else in your unit, but you don't have your family, your close friends.
Right.
I became close with some of the guys over there, of course, but it gives you a lot of time to think and like, what do I want to do with my life? And that's exactly what I spent 9 months doing, was like,
Yep.
I'm about to go home. What is this going to look like? And I tell people all the time that me being in the military was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it set me up. Like, yeah, there were some times that sucked. Plenty.
Yeah.
Especially.
You're glad you're out now.
I'm so glad I'm out. Like, happily retired after 6 years of service.
Yeah.
But it just, I forget exactly what I was saying, but it gave me so much time to think. And like, I remember I would read so many books, listen to so many audiobooks, so many podcasts. I was journaling all the time. And this was things that like no coach, no mentor, nobody ever told me to do, but I just had so much on my mind that I was like, I have to do something about this. And it really helped set me up to figure out, like, when I get home, this is what I'm going to do.
Yep.
And I started like envisioning what my life was going to look like. Now, obviously, did not expect my life to turn out this way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exactly what I envisioned, but it's the best life that I could ever imagine.
Totally. Yeah, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
But we'll continue there. Let's talk about our next venture there.
Yeah, so and this is leading up to it. So basically I deployed, and I was really kind of, I don't know the right word for it, but like I was disappointed because I was just getting like momentum, right? And you can appreciate that. When you start getting momentum in your business, things start, like everything starts to be, it's like you're building a pipeline, you're starting to work with people, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Before deployment.
And it was fun, and I was like, dang, I'm good at this. I enjoy it. Like, this is what I want to do. And then you get those orders, and you're like,
it killed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely killed the momentum. And now, like, I never actually really looked back at it like that, but like, we did have so much momentum.
Yeah.
Like, we were selling a lot. I don't know how many you did that year. I can't remember now.
I think it was like 16 before I left, and then I referred 4 to you. So I would have for sure had 20 before that closed that year.
Right.
So I would have for sure had 20, and that's with stopping in September.
And not even starting until February. It was. Yeah. So
that was like 7 months. So, but yeah, so I deployed, so got the orders to leave in September, and I was like, at that, I started, I don't remember exactly, like we started getting really into like internet, online marketing, because that was a big source of our business. Right. We were really good at getting people's attention online through leads, like through different sources, and then calling them, converting them into clients, and helping them buy houses, right? Typically. And so I was like learning more about that, learning more about marketing. And then, since I was researching all that, I started getting ads for like, have your own marketing agency.
Yeah.
Right. And so then when I left, and one of their pitches was work from anywhere in the world. Right. You're not tied down to anything. Real estate, as an agent, you're tied down to your area. You can only sell in your local area. So then I was like, that sounds cool. Right? Hey, I'm about to be gone for like 3 months because our deployments are shorter. But I'm going to be gone for like 3 months. I'm just going to start learning about this. Right? And so, I bought some course about being a social media marketing agency and started, learning about that. And then I even remember I was overseas having like Zoom calls with real estate agents, because that's who I was trying to target, to try to help them run ads, right? And then help them close business. And I thought it was going to be awesome because I had done it personally. So I could relate to them and say like, hey, here's how you convert them and all this stuff. That didn't end up working out, because what I found out is that most real estate agents are broke. Right. And have no money for marketing, or are just too scared to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
I don't know if you remember, but I ran Facebook ads.
Yes. Yeah. And you closed at least one that I remember.
I think from that one, we only did it for
we only did it 1 month. Yeah.
And I ended up closing 2 deals from it. The second one came later.
Yeah, which makes sense. But even to close one that fast was insane to think about. And I remember using that as examples. I was like, yeah, actually, we just started a campaign for a guy on my old team.
And I closed it within like 2 months.
Yeah.
A month,
super
maybe.
fast. Yeah. But anyways, that didn't end up working out. And then but I was doing that overseas, right, learning that business. And then actually while I was overseas, I started Angle's ad agency, right?
I remember.
Yep. And then come back, and then when you're researching all this stuff, you start getting more and more ads about it, right?
Yeah.
So then I got an ad for this other coaching program that was for gyms, and I was like, oh well, I'm super into gyms, like fitness.
Yeah.
Maybe I could relate to them, so I bought that course too. And then I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm gonna try working with my CrossFit gym that I go to, and do like what they were talking about with the ads, and it actually worked pretty well. Like they got some signups and whatnot, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna be a marketing agency for gyms and real estate agents, right? So when I got back, like beginning of 2020, I remember telling you, I was like, hey, I'm actually not going to do real estate anymore.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to do this marketing agency. And then
I was like, tell me more.
You were like, because I was just selling it. I think what I was doing was I was trying to justify in my head why I was doing that.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, man, I don't want to be tied down to like where I work. I want to be able to work from anywhere, and like, go down on vacations in like Florida and just like, be able to work from anywhere.
I was like, heck yeah, that sounds awesome.
And you were like, yeah, dude, me too. I was like, well, shoot, let's do it together.
Well, and I know for me too, like those first 6 months, wasn't married yet.
Oh yeah.
No kids yet.
Yeah.
I was just being a real estate agent, and I was working all the time. Like I would work from early in the morning to late at night, never stopping. I think I worked every Saturday, Sunday, and I never took a day off. And I remember there were agents in our office who would take off on Thursday. And I was like, psh,
yeah,
what are those people taking a day off for? You don't need a day off.
Yeah, because we were in momentum phase.
Exactly, and we were.
Yeah.
But I think also I might have, after those first 6 months of just like just going hard in the paint, I guess I'll say, is like I probably experienced a little burnout.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about this marketing agency. I'm like, that sounds amazing.
The new shiny object, right? That is one thing that I have to be careful about. Is shiny object syndrome.
I got the shiny object too. Like it looked beautiful, and we were like, we're gonna make all this money doing it. And,
which we were making.
The business
money.
was making a lot of money for sure.
Yeah. So we started that agency, as you know, and started getting clients, and then COVID hit.
Yes.
Right.
Oh
what
my
were
gosh.
we at though? We were at like 3 clients, I think, that were
at least
almost 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
In revenue, right? But we were just putting it all back into marketing and the business.
Yep.
And then COVID hit, right? And then now,
which sucked.
Yeah.
That was like, of course, we start this business, which was like very end of 2019.
Yeah.
We start getting things ramped up.
Yeah.
And then the world shuts down.
Yep.
And we're literally working with places that like people have to go to.
Yeah. Yeah,
gyms.
terrible. And gyms are all just like, yeah, man,
we got to shut down. We
don't need marketing right
So
now.
what's the first thing that people cut?
Yeah,
marketing.
Of course. Yep. And I remember working at the church though.
Of course, every day. And then we both got COVID. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm talking about failures. We were talking about that, off air. Just like how one of the things that I think makes us successful in some eyes is that we're not afraid to try things and fail.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you are afraid to try and fail, you'll just never start.
Exactly.
And then like, how will you ever know? You'll probably never find that thing that you are really good at, and that because you don't want to take the risks.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I think that's one of the good things that that we've experienced is
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of failures, but it allows you to find the successes, right? And
it totally does.
The marketing agency obviously was a failure, right? That whole year was running the hamster wheel.
We learned a lot, made a little bit of money, not much.
Yeah,
but we learned a lot, and I always like. There have been times in my life where I was like, well, what if I stayed a real estate agent and I never stopped.
Totally.
The thing is, if I didn't then, I probably would have at some other point in the future.
You would have.
So that's why I'm glad.
Else.
I'm so glad that I did that. We did that. And, we learned a lot of skills working with like gyms all across the nation. Like we weren't just working locally. We had clients in many different states, Utah,
One of
Texas.
them wanted to hire you.
Yeah. I forget exactly. They had like 13 locations for their gym, and they wanted to hire me
individually.
Yeah,
they liked you better than me, obviously.
Well, that's because I was the more of the like
contact.
client facing for them.
Yeah.
And
And obviously you were crushing it for
Yeah,
them. We
for
actually
sure.
did do really well for some of the clients.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is cool. Like, yeah, we saw some successes in it too, which is obviously part of the game, right? But ultimately that led to the end of the year when we both were really burnt out. We were like, we don't really see this as being a long-term game.
Yeah.
And
anymore.
I remember being at your apartment with you and Tiff and Ash, and
Sophia
then you got
was just born.
Sophia was just born, and then you got that text message or that call.
It was a call. He called me twice.
He called you twice.
But he had
double dialed you.
Listen to this though. He had called me a couple times that like month,
and
I just wasn't answering because I didn't recognize who it was or anything.
Dude,
and I'm like,
no one does that now.
I know. I'm like, he would have been gone.
Yeah, easily.
But yeah, he double dialed me, and I was like, guys, you think I should answer this really quick?
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, just go do it. And it was some guy who told me, hey, thanks for sending me the listing, because like we had automatic listing alerts set up.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to buy a house.
Yeah. He was literally following up with you.
Yes.
For the whole month.
Which it's like, a lot of people could be like, oh, that's really weird that happened. And I think that was God's nudge to me.
Yeah.
To be like, dude.
Back in it.
Get back to what you're really good at.
Right. Which is cool too, because then I remember you even saying like, do you think I should do this? Like, not asking permission, but like we're in a business together, and you're like, hey, what do you think about me like doing this? I'm like, dude, do it. Like, I think I want to do it again.
Right. You're like, we ain't making any money. Go do it.
At that time, we both were like, all right, we're going back to real estate. Yeah.
That I'm pretty sure it was like that day.
That day, dude.
I was
crazy.
like, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then
I think we both wanted to, but we just like didn't want to let each other down or something.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like we definitely it was tough. It was not easy.
Right.
Like, and then Tiff and I having Sophia, our first daughter, I was like, I got to do something. Like I think Tiffany was still working. Yeah, she was, but she was on maternity leave, and she still had a job at the time, and like we couldn't live just off of her salary. At the time, we did that whole year, which was just crazy.
Yeah, like
how you live off of. I think we were living off of $3,000 a month at the time.
Right,
that was really hard,
tough.
And when our rent was like $1,500.
half your income.
Yeah, so. Crazy times.
But yeah, it was like you said, God kind of nudging you. I think that there's a little truth to that too, because I remember basically getting back into it, and then a past client of mine called me and said she has a referral for me. Her sister wants to buy a house. They bought a house within the month.
Yeah.
So like this was October, November time. Like we both had a closing before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
I know.
When you actually know how it works.
It was like Sophia was born October 9th, so say it was the following week when you guys were over. Yeah, it's like how that translated to closing within, that was like a month and a half later that we closed.
I know.
Like that most likely wouldn't happen unless there was some sort of intervention.
Divine intervention.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and then we, back to taking risks. We both were like, hey, what do we know best? Internet marketing, right? Let's just go put a bunch of leads on a credit card and
yes,
and hope we can close some deals, and it worked, Yeah. That next year, 2021, we both, funny enough, closed the exact same amount of houses. 26 houses together. Insane.
Yeah.
You beat me that year.
That would by like what?
I still remember it though.
Bit.
That competition.
I think it was like under $1 million in production.
Well, it was like a couple hundred. It was like 100,000 or two. Yeah.
Because I was at like 7.8. I don't know why I remember.
And I was
that.
at like 7.6 or 7.7. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you blew me out of the water the next year.
That next year was a breakout year for me. But then you had it the next year, so it's cool. It's all been working out like that. But
yeah, I wanted to touch on that though. Again, like we get back into real estate and we're like, the only thing that we know besides like working with our friends and family sphere of influence is internet leads.
Yeah.
And we were both like, take my money.
Yeah.
And we went.
It's like $10,000.
Yeah. We just started slamming money into online lead generation of different forms.
Yeah.
And like, that's a huge risk.
Yeah.
Like you look back and like most people would be like, wow, you guys are really freaking stupid. But I think that we both just believed in ourselves so much.
That's huge.
That it's like, and also when your back's against the wall,
Yeah.
like you're going to make it happen no matter what. And that's definitely, I know I felt I was in that position. You probably felt the same thing. Like back's against the wall. This is like make it or break it moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I don't do this, I'm going to let my wife down and my new baby down. And I'm going to have to figure something else out if I can't figure this out, which is exactly what I was like, I'm figuring this out no matter what.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Couple years later?
Almost 4 years later at this point.
Far?
Well, this October it'll be 4 years exactly since we decided to dive head first without a parachute.
Yeah. I mean, and for me too, it was. It's funny though. I wasn't actually that nervous about it for some reason.
No,
I think it's because we
either.
had the experience, so we had done it before. We just had to redo it and start.
We had
over.
The familiarity, and we knew exactly what we needed to do to get back to it.
Right, but we made no money that last year, and then. I had now 2 kids. 28. What year was it? 2020.
Yeah.
I had 2 kids. One due the following April.
Yes.
And Ashley wasn't working, right? And and then it was like, all right. Still, I don't even know how we survived that year, honestly. Like
I don't know.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, but
God
we
only.
did.
The only way we could.
Yeah, exactly.
And then and then obviously the next couple years have been really good. A lot of growth. Hiring people, a lot more learning, a lot of, delegating, learning how to now be a leader instead of just, doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. We're both going through all that right now.
Yeah, exactly. And you have your director of operations now, not just your assistant, Kimberly, and then 3 agents on your team now.
And a transaction coordinator.
Yeah. So that's been a huge growth for you, which is just awesome. So that takes us to today. And I know the background story was a long time, but we have to give everybody the background because there's a lot to it.
There is, and there's a lot more we could have gone. Yeah.
Oh, I know. We'll have some more episodes in the future, but now what? Now like here you are with your team, and now you're kind of getting into a new venture as well.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and this is like super fresh, right? Like within the last few months.
It's still real estate, everyone. Don't worry.
It's still real estate, right? It's not, But basically, I having a couple years, like, so 2022 and 3 were like really good years, right? Compared to before. Obviously there's a lot of growth that can still happen, but basically I've got to the point where, and I'm growing the team now. And so that's giving me a little bit more time because I'm pouring into them, but taking a little bit away from my personal business, I guess you could say, right? And so, and the reason for that is I basically did the reflecting, and I was like, why did I start this whole thing to begin with, right? And the whole reason I started was, like I said at the beginning, was because of the investing. That's what I wanted. I wanted to build wealth for my family, build wealth, like generational wealth, like be able to provide a really good life, be able to serve and give, and just be, just what money can get you. Not like I don't want money, but I want what money can do for you and what you can do with it for others. And so one of the problems that I've had is I was so focused on growing my business that I didn't focus on growing my wealth at all, right? I didn't focus on the long term. It was all short term, right? And so then I just started like, how do I actually do more for the long term, right? A good way I've heard it is like you have your short-term money, your mid-term money, and your long-term money, right? Your short-term money is like the money you live off of. It's your real estate commissions. The long-term money would be like bigger investments, like a year or, something like a flip maybe, right? It's bigger money, but it takes a little bit longer. And then like your long-term, that's midterm. Then long-term is like your long-term investments, right? And I've acquired a few investments over the last, 6 years. But I just think that I can do a lot more efficiently and be wiser with the money. And so I've just like really gone head in to learning real estate investing a lot more, right? To the point where like I have personally 5 houses under contract right now for me to buy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is crazy because I've only bought technically 2 on my own before. Well, no, so we bought our first house together, and then we bought a rental property and our personal residence. in 2022. And then this year, you, me, and John bought a house together, right? But now I have 5 more that I'm going to buy and either flip or keep as a rental, right? And I just didn't even know it was possible before. But like starting in October, November, I started learning about it, digging into it, right? And then probably in January, February, I started actually going in on, again, credit cards and getting a little bit of like seed money to start marketing and start growing this business.
Yeah.
And it's a risk for sure.
It totally is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think it's going to pay off really, really well, and it's going to set us up like the way I'm hoping it does.
So I know this might be like a tough question to answer, but like to somebody who might be watching this that has like no clue of getting into real estate investing or flipping or buying a rental, like how do you suggest they start?
Well, I think the way I do it, I mean, the only way I can really suggest is like what I've done is number one, just like start researching it online, like YouTube videos, find people that you resonate with and just start learning from them. And then 2, find a mentor, right? It can be someone locally. It could be someone that you pay, right? In a paid mentor, right? Honestly, that's probably the best mentor because they can actually dedicate more time to you rather than just someone that you're always asking to meet with.
Yeah.
I know people love mentoring, but like time is valuable.
100%.
Right? And so someone who is really successful, to ask them for their time for free is almost like, to flip it is almost like rude.
Oh, it totally is.
Because it's like their time is really valuable and they're doing things in the world to better the world or whatever. And then now you're asking it like for you, that's just one way to look at it. But yeah, I'd say those are the best places to start. And then once you've learned for, I'd say like 3 months, that's probably a good time frame for me at least. You don't want to take like 6 to 12 months to just like only consume because then you're just going to get analysis paralysis. You're not going to do anything. So like take a few months and really learn and from different people, ask people locally. You can go to free events. There's like a ton of real estate investing events locally. So just look them up online or message me about them. And then just take action.
Yeah, I agree with that because if you take too long and you just start consuming more and more content, then there are probably hundreds of different strategies. And you're like, wait, maybe I should do this one. No, I should do this one instead. Wait, no. And then you're never going to do anything.
Never. Dude, that's really true. And that is one of the downsides of bigger pockets is that you hear so many different things. Like eventually you just have to choose, right?
Yeah.
And like a quote that I think we were just talking about today, you, me, and John, is that perfection is the enemy of success.
100%.
Right? If you want to be perfect in something, you're never going to start.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't start, you're never going to be successful.
Right.
So you just have to, obviously, preparation is important, right? Like another really good quote that I heard from the same podcast was preparation is what, or preparation equals separation. Right? How do you separate yourself from the pack is like you have to prepare, but you can't only do that. You have to also take action.
Yeah, and that's like along the same lines of like, I forget the exact quote, but it's like imperfect action is better than trying to take perfect action.
Yeah.
Because again, if you try and take perfect action, you're probably
perfect inaction.
Yeah, you're never going to actually take the action. So, we're in a pretty tough market right now, right? And by that I mean hyper competitive. Like even on the real estate agent side, I mean, for example, today's April 5th, so this is whenever this airs, it might be a little different, but home in New Berlin, 16 offers on it right now at the average price.
Yeah.
Which is insane, and we hear about this all the time. One of our listings last weekend had 9 offers. I know you guys have had very similar stories on your listings.
11, yeah.
And even in the investing world, it's hyper competitive, very hard to get deals under contract. So what are you doing to combat
on what
that?
Side?
I guess like both sides. Like what are you doing on the real estate agent side to try and like win for your clients or, take listings or win for your buyers? Like what does it look like for you right now?
Well, this might not be what most people want to hear, but what I'm doing is I'm just being 100% honest with people up front and just trying to set the right expectations, because if you go into this thinking like you're not going to go way over asking or you're not going to waive contingencies, as a buyer, you're just not going to win.
Exactly.
And
or
so,
I don't want to get in a bidding war. You hear that often.
Yeah, I hear that too. And then you just have to be in a respectful way and professional way, just asking them questions about that, and then have a real conversation like, can I be real with you, or can I be honest with you? Right now might not be the right time to buy.
I agree.
That's totally okay. Now, what we talked about earlier was, or off air, is that the only people buying right now are the people that have to.
Exactly.
Right? Because it's, the people that are very motivated, right? I still think it's a great time to buy, as you can tell, because I'm buying 5 houses right now.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's still an amazing time to buy. And the reason is you just have to, it might take a little longer. You might have to get a little uncomfortable, with how aggressive you have to be. But my vision of the future of the market is positive, right? Because right now we still have such a short inventory of homes,
yes.
and we have a lot of buyers out there, and rates are higher than they've ever been.
Yep.
So like if rates come down, which they may not for a while, but if they do, I expect the market to be even more flooded with buyers, right? Because now more people can afford, which is going to only increase prices even more.
Right, and maybe more sellers too, because now they can justify selling their house that has that high 2s or 3 to mid 3 interest rate.
But then they still have to go find something.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, like, once interest rates come down a little bit, if they do, like we're saying, big caveat, if they do. Or big asterisk. If they come down, then those sellers might be more comfortable taking their home to the market, so we could see more inventory then. But again, there's going to be even more buyers. So who knows if anything's actually going to get balanced out there.
Right. Outside of some crazy event that causes a ton of people to lose all their jobs and have to sell their homes, like I just don't see like a crash happening, right? And so I'm bullish on the market, the real estate market, and the other thing is I'm also willing to hold long term.
Same.
Right? So if I'm wrong, which I could be, I'm not saying that I know the future, but if I'm wrong, then I'll just hold, right?
Yeah. That's exactly it, though. Like, you know who lost in 2008? The people who were selling. Obviously, some people had to sell, like, no matter what.
Yeah.
But there were probably, and again, I was young then, of course, but there were some people who probably panic sold. And if you would have just held, like, values are significantly higher now than they were then.
Yep.
And even like a few years later.
Yep.
So,
which is, an age-old investing philosophy, but it takes a lot of like determination and willpower to be able to not sell when panic is hitting.
Yeah.
When everyone else around you is selling, right? It's like
hindsight's 20/20, right?
Hindsight,
Who
exactly.
knows what we would have done?
That's very true, right? But like Warren Buffett says, like when there's fear in the market, that's when you want to be greedy.
Exactly.
But when people are being greedy, like that's when you want to be fearful.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's the way I look at it. And if I was a buyer right now and I didn't own anything, or even if I did and I just wanted a bigger house or whatever, then I would just look at my options of, okay, can I rent my current house out, keep it, because I still think the market's going up. So if I can do that and then go buy a house, I'm going to be paying more for it. But if that's something that I actually want, then I would do it now, right? Because I just don't think it's going to get better. So
yeah, I don't see it getting better, quote unquote. I see it getting harder as time goes on for buyers, especially first-time buyers. It's definitely not going to be any easier. I know you got to get going, so I want to thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, we'll have to do another one.
Yeah, we will.
We'll get more
into everything. But any final thoughts on anything?
Final thoughts. Like I think I just said there. Like my big thing right now is I just want to encourage people to just take action.
Yeah.
Right. I really loved that quote that I heard this morning, where it's like perfection is the enemy of success, right? If you want to be successful in whatever it is, and you can define your own success. It doesn't have to be my version of success or your version of success. However you want to be successful, like it's going to take, number one, preparing for it, but number two, actually doing it and taking action, whatever that looks like, right? So it could be as simple as, if you want to get into real estate investing, as simple as starting to analyze a deal every single day, right? And then, after you do that for a week or two, then actually make an offer, right? That's scary, the first offer you make, but like likely it's not even going to get accepted anyways, right? So yeah, just figure out a way to take action, get a mentor, and then, don't try to be perfect, right? Just learn as you go, and you're going to iterate, as you go, and you're going to keep getting better. And I think that's the whole point, right? Growth. Yeah, absolutely. If anyone wants to connect with you after the show, where can they find you? Probably Instagram or Facebook, Nate Angles, NateAngles. Awesome. Thanks for being on the show, bro. Thanks. Thank you for joining us on the show today, where we talked about Nate's background, his time in the military, and real estate. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can follow us for the next episode.